Internet's good.
What?
Boom, boom. No, we're
Action.
good. Cut.
Oh no.
What?
Oh, no. We hadn't fucked up
bad?
in so long. Yeah. That's
Wait,
how
what
we
am I
used to do
supposed-
it.
Action cut, right? We did it.
No, you're falling back. This is like a relapse. You fell back into the horse shit. You say cut at the end, you dum dum.
Oh, well, what do I say here? Oh, I don't say anything. That's
Here
right.
you
Sorry,
go. All right, welcome. But you're not a host.
I'm not a host.
I should host. We should switch it. You should say action. Plus, I have the ability to end it. So I should say cut because I hit
I've been
stop.
saying that this whole fucking time. I'm like, you're the one who's good on your what's the word? Good on your
Toes, feet,
toes,
ass.
feet. Yeah, I can't even do the phrase. I can't even you're the one who's good at that. I'm let me throw the ball to you. You're like an improv master.
Yeah, what are you good at?
Like two things, and then I'm just fucking retarded at everything else. It's like
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, Bobby was saying that on the trip. He's like, you're good at like two things, and you don't know shit about anything else. And it was hurtful, but he is correct.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't want to.
I'm a mess. I'm anxious. I'm having panic attacks. Let's get this going.
Have you watched? There's a Netflix thing about this guy Marty Fish, a tennis player. We watched it last night. I think you'll relate. It was like he told my life story.
Wouldn't you be surprised if I had watched it? Like I was like, oh yeah, of course I watched that tennis documentary.
Well, but I'm telling you, it's a mental health documentary about a guy just like you.
I thought you were saying it was a tennis documentary, but there's like a metaphor for mental
Well,
health.
he's a tennis player, but I think of you as somebody who's smart enough to see through the tennis, but maybe I'm wrong. Some people are like that. I don't like sports. And I'm like, you're like that with Rocky. I mean, we alluded to this last week with Rocky. You're like, oh, it's a motivation boxing story.
Yeah.
I don't like it. But it's actually about these sad loser types that are trying to find any kind of value in life.
I honestly should be more. Well, I should be more into sports metaphor because every comedian I know just speaks in sports metaphors about comedy. Like pretty much you, Louis, Sam, all he talks is like it's like if you're in comedy, you have to speak in sports metaphors. But I don't know any.
Do I speak in sports metaphors? What's some idea? When have I spoken?
Like you do. I don't know. You're just
I do sometimes, but you're saying I always talk about that.
But everyone like Louis, like, comedy is like running into second base and there's people in the outfield and, Sam, everything. I got to get more into sports so I can have the cool metaphors.
And there's great metaphors in sports. I mean, that's one of the beauties of sports. What's great about sports, and I always say this, what's so beautiful about sport is there's not that many opportunities in life to go, oh my God, I can't believe what I just saw.
Yeah,
that was incredible. Movies, it's like somebody wrote it. So they're beautiful and you love movies, but you're being manipulated. Sports, it's like, I just watched something incredible.
Right. It gets out some primal shit because you can't, like, if you're in a movie theater, you can't just stand up and like, oh my God, and just like hug the person next to you. Like,
you can if you're black.
You can if you're black. But like, a white guy doing that, people will be like, oh, he's about to shoot up the theater. You know what I mean? Like, so sports does allow you to do the jumping and the yelling. That's the thing. I'm not into sports. So I haven't jumped up and down in my life.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Jumped up. I haven't yelled. I haven't like I haven't high-fived someone in 20 years.
That's the glory of sports. And it brings you together. My father and I, we have this thing. We'll text about the Sox. That's it. That's all we got. And you're watching with anticipation and it's just a release of an explosion of like, yes, incredible. And some movies can pull it off. Usually sports movies, ironically.
Well, I cried during movies, but yeah, the jumping up I should do. Well, what should I get into?
It's going to be hard.
Now,
it's not,
right?
It's too late. Yeah. You're just not it. It's not going to work.
The crazy thing is my family is all sports fans. I'm such a fucking outcast. My family's huge college basketball fans.
Oh, I love college hoops. By the way, are we dressed too similar? This is a little ridiculous. With glasses, beard, black shirt.
Well, you fucking made fun of my outfit and then you dressed like it the next day.
No, I'm talking about, I'm wearing a rock and roll shirt.
Yeah, but you look like I got my red the polio.
Yeah, you got polio. There's a cure for that.
Polio.
I think you might have polio.
I could have it. But yeah, no, it's I'll get into sports. I'll get into like bowling. Is that a sport? Can I get into that?
Oh, one of the great lines ever. Who do you think you are? I am. You know that video?
No, what's that?
Oh, it's magical. I'll send it to you. It's my favorite fucking thing ever. I forget the guy's name. He's a crazy bowler. 100 people are going to message me about it. But he's this nut and he's like a really competitive bowler and he screams and goes crazy. And he had one where he bowled and he won the tournament and he goes, that's right. Who do you think you are? I am.
Wait, I don't understand what he's saying.
Exactly. That's what's hilarious. It makes no sense.
There's a confusing lack of a pause between those two lines. Who do you think you are? I am.
That's what's so incredible about it. It is nonsensical. It's so I've probably watched it 500 times, but it also, you get it, that feeling of like winning and people are doubting you and everyone hates you and then you win and you just yell something. And the thing you yell is, who do you think you are? I am.
Yeah, it feels like he's missing like a sentence in between those two.
He's missing a lot.
Who do you think you are? Go fuck yourself. Oh, what do you say to me? I am. Even that doesn't make sense. I don't even know. There's like two sentences there he skipped, but
it's like oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I bowled the other week. Have you been bowling recently?
Last time I bowled was with Louie and John Fish and Will Sylvince in Nebraska.
It'd be funny if you just kept on naming me too. It was like Louie and Bill Cosby and Dustin Hoffman.
John Fish and Will Sylvince? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I just thought after Louie. I don't know.
That was like an SNL sketch and I hated it. We talked about how we hated it. I don't get it.
Jesus, I'm very insecure right now. You got to encourage me. I was on the road for 2 weeks. I didn't get one compliment. I'm just watching Louie compliment Bobby the whole time. I'm insecure.
Everybody compliments you. We've weeded out all the Raanan haters, and now every comment is like, Raanan's better than Joe. Joe sucks. Joe's stupid. I mean, how do you think you are? I am.
Well, anyway, I went bowling the other day, and I hate bowling because you always start really good. Like the first couple, you're like, oh, I guess I'm good at this. And then you just slowly get worse and worse and worse. And then you just realize those first two rolls were like a fluke.
See, just like, you're already talking comedy metaphors through sports.
That's a comedy metaphor?
Yes, you always start strong, and then by the end, it's just crap. It's just gutters.
I just heard the first part. I thank you. You like my opening jokes?
Well, the other day, I'll tell you this. You went up cold at the VU. Everyone bombs the VU. You had the best set I've ever seen anyone have at the VU. Oh, and for a minute, I was like upset because I was like, I think Raanan's the best comic and it's annoying. And then it turned out literally everybody murdered. It was just a hot crowd. And I was like, phew.
That's not completely true, but I appreciate the compliment. Yeah, you know what it was too? I was that perfect amount of tired. You ever have that tired that when you're like tired, like really tired, you go on stage and you have the I don't give a shitness of a 40-year-old veteran?
I am a 40-year-old veteran. I mean, that's what I am.
Well, sometimes I get so tired, I can have your level of not caring.
Oh, I
care. Have to be underslept for a couple of days.
Right.
By the way, now we're talking about that night. Joe has a bit about me, originally the bit is about me being unattractive, right? And he goes, right before he goes on, I don't know who I'm talking. I'm like talking to the audience right now. It's weird. Right before he goes on stage, you're like, this is not about you being unattractive. He's just like, you immediately go on stage. You're like, I have a friend who's ugly. He's so ugly. You called me ugly 42 times.
I'm saying it's not about you. It starts, and you should know this as an artist. The premise. First of all, I'm making fun of Eric Newman.
You keep on saying you're making fun of Eric, but the joke for Eric is just that he thinks other people have it as easy to get laid as him.
Yes, it's funny. The joke is about hot people.
The joke is that I'm ugly and don't realize I'm ugly. The joke is way worse for me than Eric. It's not like Eric's going to get insulted. Oh, really? How dare you say that I project my good looks onto other people?
Well, first of all, you're just the seedling, and then it's branched into this other thing. I don't think you're ugly. I talk about how handsome you are when you put your hair up. Not right now, but when you put your hair up, you're very tan. Yeah. You're cute. You got something going.
So you're adding it for comedic effect.
Of course, I'm taking artistic license.
Okay. All right. No, that's fine.
What am I going to do? Okay. Go up there and go, I was hanging out with two friends. One's hot and one's pretty good looking in certain lighting. I got to make you a ghoul. But you're not a ghoul. You're a jewel.
I'm a jewel. All right. Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, there's a lot of compliments.
Let's talk about these movies because I think we're going to talk about, I finally get to pick, even though you tried to fucking outpick it.
Yes.
Tried to get rid of it. We're talking about
doing Sidney Lumet. Yeah.
I think Sidney Lumet is maybe my second favorite director of all time. Lumet.
Not Lumet? Oh, boy.
Oh, it's Sidney Lumet.
Oh, Sidney Lumet. He's your second? Who's your first? Coen Brothers?
No, Scorsese, you jackass.
Scorsese.
What are we doing? Do you listen when I talk? I feel like you don't listen. Of course, it's Scorsese.
Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, I like him a lot. You know, I love Dog Day Afternoon. Which one are we talking about first tonight?
Well, we're going to talk about 12 Angry Men, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, his first and last films. That's 50 years apart.
Good concept, Joe. You thought of that concept. That's, in fact, we should have more of that like thematic stuff. I like that.
Well, it's pretty, they're great, and they're both fantastic movies, and I love his style, his direction. He's one of those guys where you really see and feel his decision making. It's not just like Woody, who I love as one of my favorite filmmakers. As far as style and direction, you're not going, he's all script.
Yes.
You're not going, that's a Woody movie. Look at the way this camera is moving. Sidney Lumet movies, these choices, you feel them, you see them, even if you don't notice them the first time, they make you feel something. It's one of these, he's a director that I talk about a lot. I love because you know everything is deliberate and decisive and it means something and it's giving you feeling. And that's what I love. His camera movement is as good as anybody except Scorsese, and I assume he's a huge influence on Scorsese, the way they both make movies.
Yes, and he's, I mean, certain directors are a master of certain things. He is definitely the master of the interior. He knows how to, like, the man, he's not an outside guy. He loves the inside. He loves the inside of a room, the inside of an apartment. He's the master of creating so much drama and so much tragedy within walls, within a room, and really capturing the whole room. There's a couple parts in Before the Devil Knows You're Dead where he goes into someone's apartment and the camera doesn't even cut. It stays in the whole apartment. You get a whole sense of status through the apartment and the drama going on within that room, you know.
And these beautiful, subtle movements of the camera where there's one where I guess we'll talk about Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. What do you want to talk about first?
Let's start with that first.
Well, before we dive into it, there's one great camera movement where Philip Seymour Hoffman comes in, and it's where Marissa Tomei is about to tell him that where I'm fucking your brother and I'm leaving. And it's on her as he comes in, and it's the slightest movement as he goes to wash his hands that just reveals a suitcase in this little corner. And you don't even notice the camera moving because it's moving so slowly, and you see the suitcase, and you learn so much just through the subtlest movement. And it's just so beautiful. I love this film.
Yeah, well, that's actually my favorite scene because it has my favorite moment of the movie in terms of the coldness of these people is him watching her take the bags out herself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like her struggling to take the bags up the steps.
Which feels so real.
It feels so real, and it really is a beautiful moment because you're taking the small detail, and that small detail represents the whole movie. Just people who are not willing to metaphorically take each other's baggage on. They're cold. Love is transactional. It's all become just kind of soulless. And he's not willing to let her in or help her with her struggles and vice versa. And that moment that's the height of the film. Her struggling with her suitcases and then asking for money and him giving her money. And it's just human interactions being reduced to just a soulless financial exchange, you know?
Well, and I mean, also, he barely reacts. She's like, I've been fucking your brother. He doesn't even react. I mean, he just does it. And his reaction is so beautiful. Wait, what are you going to say?
Yeah. Well, he reacts later quite a bit.
Certainly, which feels a little bit like the end of Dumb and Dumber. The end of this movie has a little bit of Dumb and Dumber. That like, okay, kill him. She touched my leg. It brought me to Dumb and Dumber.
They might as well be chained to a bed. You've been screwing her the whole time, Harry.
Yeah, it felt so much like that.
Well, you know why? Because they're having a fight in front of a woman who's just standing there.
Yes, well, so she's not just standing there.
Well, yeah, but she's just like, it's like a weird thing for her to like see them come in. He shoots her brother. And then they just start fighting over an affair they had. And she's just like, I'm here too.
Do you find Michael Shannon to be a little bit much in this movie? Just, okay.
Yes.
Just a little hair.
I don't know what it is now in movies. I think like I'm looking for it now a little more. Sometimes I'm just a little like, these actors are just pretending to be tough and they've never been tough in their life. And they're just saying like, there's just weird lines. Like, can I call you Chico?
It's like, a little,
What is that? The other guy too. What is the deal with writing tough things where you write a phrase that doesn't, like when he goes, it's as simple as a pimple. It's like, what is that? It's like, it's just like a Dr. Seuss line, but it's trying to sound tough.
I think they're trying to write him dumb. Like he's supposed to be a dumb who's tough. He's just he's my least favorite character in the movie, but the purpose he serves is fantastic.
Yes.
It is another great dilemma.
but it is definitely, you feel a Juilliard actor like acting tough, which is funny because a lot of other movies he seems very real.
Yeah, I thought that. So that makes me think it's the writing. The writing might be
the writing. I mean, the movie's so beautifully directed and beautifully acted. I think the writing there's some flaws in the writing I want to talk about. But that part just alone where he's like, can I call you Chico? And then he calls him Chico. I mean, just like, that's just like a screenwriter going, I guess that's what tough people say. They force other people to be called Chico.
And then he calls Philip Seymour Hoffman Harpo or Groucho. Like it's a Marx Brothers
That's
thing.
not a tough thing to just call people Marx Brothers characters. That's
no,
like
it's
what
a
my
little.
grandpa used to do.
Can I call you Zeppo?
Like, funniest one.
It is, but Philip Seymour Hoffman, I came up with this. This is a complete side thing, but not complete side.
Yeah,
it's associated with both. Martin Balsam is like one of my favorite actors of all time, who's in 12 Angry Men. He's juror number 1. He's also Abergas in Psycho.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's also in this other
West Side Story, right?
I think he's in that.
He's the cop in West Side Story.
He's also in he's in a bunch of shit. He's also in this movie called The Anderson Tapes, which is another Sidney Lumet movie I just watched, which was Christopher Walken's first movie, and it's Sean Connery. It's great. But he is so great. He actually reminds me of Philip Seymour Hoffman in a way. He's like a really great character actor who can transform himself, and he's perfect in every role. He can play meek, he can play tough, he plays gay, he plays cop, he plays bad guy. Yeah, he's fantastic.
I can see that. Yeah, no, I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman is one of the great, like when you watch him now in movies, you just get sad because he's so good. And this movie especially is so sad because he's like on heroin half the time.
He's incredible. And this movie has one of my favorite things that we've talked about before, and I forget which movie, and I'll think of it later. But this great thing that I love in movie, this movie excites me. It just fills me with joy because it's so good, and it's flawed. It's not without its flaws, but it has that thing that I love where Ethan Hawke is a pathetic loser being bullied by his brother. And you go, okay, I got it. He's being bullied by this guy who's rich and successful and fucking this hot woman. And then slowly we reveal he is also a pathetic piece of shit. And his wife is fucking his brother, and he's got no money, and he is more pathetic and addicted to heroin and just a complete loser. I love movies like that where you have a guy who seems dominant and is dominant, but he's a piece of shit.
And seems like a villain in the beginning, like a real villain. Like your view of Philip Seymour Hoffman changes a lot through this movie, because in that first scene, he's at that suit and he's clearly manipulating Ethan Hawke, so much, like just doing all the, like, I'm going to give him a taste of the money. I'm going to get him to agree to it first before we say what it is, and manipulating him. But then by the end, you realize, oh, he's the one who really was the most unloved in the family. And like that whole villain thing is amassed for so much fucking anger and resentment. So there's a real human side to him that comes out later,
Yeah. And this movie, by the way, very, very similar to another one of our favorite movies that came out 1 decade earlier.
Fargo?
Yes.
Yes, it's very much like Fargo. I mean, there are things in Fargo that I kind of do think this is like, there's things that Fargo does a lot better, which I kind of, first of all, to me, I think one of the ultimate prongs, I love the acting so much, and there's some great scenes. I think the screenplay has some serious issues in it. I think a lot of my problem is that a lot of the relationship between him and Ethan Hawke is great, but a lot of the relationship between his parents is like, it's tell, not show. You know what I mean? You don't really see how the father behaves around the son ever. You just see them talk about it. And then when they confront him at the end, it's just him going, I never showed you the love I should have. And I'm like, I want to see this behavior. I don't want to just fucking hear them comment on it. Like the way in Fargo, when the way the father-in-law treats him like an idiot, you see it. They don't actually ever mention it. And at no point does William H. Macy go, my father-in-law really disrespects me. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but they were showing other stuff, so you have to kind of pick it up. And
I know it can't be Fargo, but I do think like it's a problem in the dialogue. Like I would have liked to see more of a relationship between the father and them and see their behavior more throughout the movie.
I hear you, but also, I mean, how great is that scene with Hoffman in the car with Tomei when he's like, fuck him, you don't get to apologize, and him trying to apologize. And another great scene with camera work and direction with they're both sitting at the bench facing opposite direction, but their faces end up facing each other. And then Tomei is in between them. I mean, that scene is so great. And he ends up smacking him in the face and it keeps flipping over the line. So they're flipping sides of the screen as you go back and forth. And then he slaps him on the face. I mean, Sidney Lumet is really, first of all, a great actor's director because he gets these incredible performances, which we'll talk more about in 12 Angry Men, which is just
and I mean,
incredible. I can't even talk about how great it is.
The acting kind of elevates some of the writing. That's like, I mean, Hoffman gives that great speech when he's high about the sum of all the parts, which is really great. You know,
beautiful.
There's some really great, like, I mean, the acting is what really makes this movie. But yeah, I do wonder too. I mean, I know, obviously, it can't be Fargo, you know, but there was was there a part of you that wondered, like, if it was somewhat of a mistake to structurally show the heists go wrong immediately and not build that up at all?
I don't know. I like it. I mean, I love how quickly you're in this movie. That's part of the thing of like,
you don't get
the background of the thing, but I love this opening thing of like Philip Seymour Hoffman is fucking this woman. And then you have mirrors on both sides. So it is this thing. It's like deception. It goes forever. It goes on and on. I mean, there's this beautiful thing with the mirrors right away. And you are so flushed into this story immediately. You're like, okay, we're in it. We're in the middle of this thing. And I love the mirrors is just so beautiful and meaningful right away. And then you go straight into this robbery. And I like that it's a little confusing and you're kind of in this thing of like, what the fuck is going on? Which is the feeling of the movie.
It is confusing, but it does like, by not building up the suspense of this robbery, there is a sense of, I guess through the movie, I'm interested in the movie. I'm interested in the characters, but there is this kind of detached feeling where you just know they're doomed. You know what I mean? There's this like detached, like, oh, I know that sometimes in certain movies, like if you know everyone's just doomed, you know, it does take away a little of the emotional roller coaster, you know, because you just know there's not even a pot. You just know they're fucked right away. And part of me wondered if they built up the heist more, it would have lessened that like kind of like detached feeling, you know.
But it does build to me because you keep going back in time and figuring out how it goes wrong. You don't know that's his mother right away.
I also forgot that you don't. That's a twist that was lost. Like watching again, I'm like, oh, it's clearly their parents. But then I forget. I got to get back to the first time I watch it. That's a big twist when he says it in the office.
Yes, and that great reveal of they still think it's the dad. I mean, that stuff is,
which is
great.
Like, and that stuff is really that stuff is great. I that's something you lose a second time because you forget about that twist. Also, that twist was probably ruined in the marketing too, right? I feel like I probably walked in there knowing that.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember feeling that way. But it's a great stuff. But it does feel like, I don't know, this is a play before it was a movie. I don't know when they wrote the play, but it does feel like this playwright watched Fargo and was like, this is a great idea. I'm going to make something kind of similar. But it does build to me because you wonder if they're going to get out of it, how they're going to get out of it. And also I relate, even though I'm not a psycho who's setting up robberies of my parents, but you do have that feeling, Ethan Hawke, that drowning feeling of now Michael Shannon wants his money. And now you've shot your mother, the guilt of this, and you have to keep lying deeper and deeper.
Basically in William H. Macy the whole time. There's no relief. It's like Fargo without the relief of Marge.
And without the comedy, there's not really
without the comedy. It's really not very funny at all. But yeah, you do feel that sense of like, they're just getting more and more fucked. But at a certain point, I'm just like, there is a sense of just like, they're just so doomed the whole time. It's just not going to work out, which does keep me from being as fully like at the edge of my seat a little, but I still think it's powerful. I mean, like, what's cool about it is like this, it's this gritty New York story, you know, but it's also like super Shakespearean. I mean, you have fucking killing parents, killing kids, fucking your brother's wife. It's like a royalty kind of like Shakespeare, huge kind of, things happening in a very gritty kind of New York story,
And it's this beautiful thing too of the father. Albert Finney is really likable. He's flirty with everybody. He's really sweet with his wife, and he's fun at the DMV. Everybody likes him, but he has those dark kids, which is a thing that happens a lot in life. And I can relate to that in parts of my family, where you have these people who are extremely flawed parents, but everybody loves them. Like, I know a guy his kids have a lot of resentment towards him, but he's been the best man in like 12 weddings. That feeling of being a kid and your father, everybody just loves and adores, and he's so nice to your mother, but you're never getting this love and affection. It leads you to dark places, and then you get more and more desperate. And sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, he seems like such a piece of shit, Albert Finney. You know, like I don't know. To me, I guess I mean, obviously it reveals at the end that he's quite the somewhat sociopathic, I guess. You know,
of course, but
yeah,
everybody likes him. He's a very
Yeah.
popular guy. He's a very sweet guy
yeah,
while being a sociopath, which is what many sociopaths are.
yes. And then by the end, like you see what he's, you see where the fucking Philip Seymour Hoffman got some of that, a lot of that fucked up shit. You know what I mean?
Of course. And you talk about tension and building. I mean, that scene where they go rob the drug dealer is as intense as it gets. Like I feel like my heart level like way up, and him just shaking and shooting through the thing, and like he's gone full bad now.
Crazy. And then he's like, did you touch anything?
It's incredible.
I was Ethan Hawke. I'd be like, how about you tell me you're gonna murder people before you ask whether I've touched anything? Give me a bit of a heads up.
That scene is as intense as any fucking scene in any movie. He's like, just pick it up, just put it in the bag, just fucking put it in the bag. I mean, he is the greatest. I mean, it's his movie. He's so fucking great. And how about, by the way, all this crime is set forth by $160, which is also beautiful. Like Ethan Hawke is not going to do it until his daughter asks for $160. That is the beauty of this whole movie. Is it's set forth by $160 from a kid.
It really shows you these very small transactions between that and the cab and everything. It's very small amounts of money. These guys are doing like pretty bad.
Yeah, they're not
like
doing
I think
well.
We're doing like better than them.
I'm doing considerably better.
I think I'm even doing better than them.
Yeah, you are.
Like if Philip Seymour Hoffman basically gives him $2,000 to basically have him committed to the crime, you know, I feel like you would need to pay me more than that.
Well, it's the promise of 60,000.
Yeah, even that I'd be like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like to be that desperate for 2,000, you know, I guess I'm just saying I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, you're doing great. Make this about you.
I wouldn't rob my parents' jewelry store right now.
No. Great, but I love all that thing. I love he brings in this loser, which is great, and all that stuff is so beautiful. Now, does Hawke bother you at all? Do you ever feel like he's too pathetic a couple times? His acting just a little bit? Does he go over the top a little bit? Obviously,
obviously you think that. I don't think that. I think he's a good dummy in this. I don't know. I think it works. I mean, it's first of all, I do think a lack of humor sometimes affects this movie because there are some things, but yeah, you think he's over the top a little?
A couple times he's just a little bit too much. And I love Ethan Hawke, but I don't know. I am asking because I'm like, if you say yes, I'm like, okay, I thought so. But if you say no, I'm like, maybe I'm being too critical. So it is actually a question.
I mean, the guy is dumb. I mean, this is a man who, let's not forget, he's a man who is about to rob his mother's jewelry store wearing a fake mustache. Like he's about to go in there with a fake mustache.
He looks like the Beastie Boys Sabotage video, by the way.
Yeah. But like, yes, he does. But he's going to come in with a skateboard. But like it is like it's an insane thing that he thinks he's doing. So he is a complete moron. So I guess I think that over the topness works for a complete moron. You know, if I honestly, the one thing that makes a little less sense, if Philip Seymour Hoffman seems very smart, it seems like he would be a little smarter. He'd realize that knowing his brother's such an idiot, it seems like he's a little too shocked that he fucked this all up, you know?
Right. But I think he thinks he has control over him.
Yeah, I guess so. But he's definitely aware he's a moron. And then he's like, just go do this yourself. And then it seems like maybe he'd give him a little more planning. Just get a gun and do it. It'll work itself out.
Right.
Like it seems like he would give him a little more of a plan knowing he's such a fucking idiot.
But we can't talk about this movie without talking about how much the jeweler looks like Ari Shaffir. It is striking. I mean, it's really like staggering. He looks like Ari Shaffir in 3 years.
Are you saying a devilish jewelry anti-Semitic stereotype looks like Ari Shaffir?
I mean, he looks like dead on. I posted it years ago or a while, maybe it was a year ago when I watched it last time. It looks so much like him. It's crazy.
He's like borderline symbolic. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yes. He looks like Ari Shaffir in like a couple, like maybe 2 years.
That's the joke I made a second ago. The exact joke I made. But
it was an homage. Like this movie was Fargo.
But you're upset. I mean, most jewelers in the Diamond District are Jews, are they not?
Yeah, of course. No, I accept it. I mean, look, Ari Shaffir He's a wonderful guy, but he obviously looks like he looks like a Jew on the cover of a Nazi magazine, you know? He just looks, you know, he makes you anti-Semitic looking at him.
That character in scene is one of the moments where it's like, it's a flawed moment. He's a little too like, my old rival, you always hated me and I always hated you. Look at your son.
It's theater. It feels like theater.
It's a little theater.
It's also tell, not show. It's talking about their relationship, not like showing the behavior. That's the problem. I do have the same problem as a lot of Woody Allen dialogue. You're talking about their dynamics instead of really showing it. So then it becomes very vague, right? Universal to real the devil's in the details. But instead of them talking about anything, he's just like, you always thought I was a crook, which is, by the way, a weird thing to be offended by. He is a crook.
Right.
Like, he admits he's a crook. Like, you always thought I was a crook for doing illegal things. And that was really presumptuous of you. But like the whole thing of him just telling you it's too naive. But he's also, I feel like he's borderline symbolically the devil, right?
I guess so. Maybe. I mean,
not fully committed, but like kind of like the fact that Philip Seymour Hoffman goes to him and he's like, bring me the jewels. and then,
right.
And then him going, the world's an evil place. It feels a little like Al Pacino and Devil's Advocate, like a little.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it is a flawed part in the movie for sure. I mean, this is not a flawless film, but I do think it is a beautiful film and a really good film. And I watch it and I get really into it. The slap from the father is like genuinely jarring. The robbing the drug dealer is like edge of your seat. Fuck. And I really feel the anxiety. And again, it's just so beautiful. The direction in this movie is just great. And it's hot. Marissa Tomei and fucking naked with heels on.
We haven't even talked about that. I mean, my God. I mean, it's funny that this movie is like so dark and real. And yet the opening scene is truly the magic of film, that Philip Seymour Hoffman is just fucking the hottest person ever. It's just crazy. And he's the one who's like taking it for granted. She may be a little, at a certain point, are you like, is she a little too hot for this role?
I know. And in the plot, he's no longer attracted to her. She's like, and he's still attracted to me. Like, it does seem weird that he's like, but he's a fucking heroin addict.
I know, but I think it's not him. I think she's too hot. Like,
yeah, I could see that.
It's a little Rear Window-ish where Jimmy Stewart's like, all right, I'll let you stay the night, but don't try to grab my dick, you fucking whore. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little, because first of all, he's not being able to get it up, correct? This is what I'm gathering from these things, which is mostly from heroin, right?
Right, yes.
But she's like, it's probably my fault. I'm like, who would ever think?
Well, everyone thinks that, of course. Everybody thinks. Like, you thought this movie was about your comedy career 10 minutes ago or whatever. So everybody makes things about themselves, of course, naturally.
I know, but it gets a little ridiculous. Like, at least he finds me attractive. And she's like, I have nothing to offer. It's like, you know what it is? The movie just like, being hot does affect your status. And the movie kind of ignores her hotness.
I guess so. Yeah.
Which is fine. And it's Hollywood, but you got Philip Seymour Hoffman. You got this monster, this albino fucking elephant.
They got to sell tickets. They got Marissa Tomei in there. She's a fine actor. By the way, her dress at the wake is insane. She's got like her tits are just out at the wake.
But she is poorly written, don't you think? I mean, I think the women in this are pretty badly written.
I guess. I mean, the mother barely says anything, but she's great. I mean, she's strong. The mother's strong. She goes and gets a gun because you're going to start doing this women bullshit.
She gets shot in the throat before her first line, but she's.
But she goes and gets the gun and shoots.
I know, but Marissa Tomei is like, they don't really delve into what's going on with her.
It's not about her. It's about the brothers.
Yeah, I know, but I think everyone in a movie should be a little developed. You know, you should see a little of their size.
Oh, she's developed. I saw her size.
Her tits, my God. It's like it's such a weird, like, you have to stop and just jack off after the first 5 minutes and then go on.
Well, you do, but I don't.
Wait, did you not do that?
No, but I don't do that kind of stuff. You know, I'm better than you.
I mean, her tits are like just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, incredible tits and wrestler too. I mean, she's really got them out there. There's plenty of Tomei tits to go around.
But yeah, let me see if I have any other, the only other really unbelievable part of this movie is the woman at the DMV is way too nice for a New York DMV. Do you remember that part?
Well, it's Westchester.
Oh, is it Westchester? Oh, I guess you're right. Never mind.
Yeah.
I stand by that. No one has ever been nice at the DMV.
But they love him. That's the point. I mean, it's written that way because they love he's a flirty guy.
No, I think the movie, in my like concluding arguments, I think the movie is flawed. Dialogue is not like as detailed as I'd like or nuanced, but I think what really makes the movie ultimately is how your perception of Philip Seymour Hoffman changes so much by the end.
Yes.
You know? And that's what's really great about the movie. I mean, in that first scene, you're like, this guy is a real asshole. Like you originally are like, oh, this is your classic smug Philip Seymour Hoffman role, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize it's almost like it combines, you know how like Philip Seymour Hoffman plays the smug guy in Talented Mr. Ripley?
Yes.
It's almost like this combines two of his roles that he's great at. He's like the smug guy on the surface who's like really snarky and smart, but then he's also playing the giant mess and chaotic mess he is in so many other movies, you know?
Right. I mean, it's one of his best performances. He's great in every movie. He is my favorite actor of all time. I mean, I just think he's the best.
He is just fucking incredible. I mean, he's so good. He became a leading man, even though he's like not attractive. That alone is like literally every other great actor is like hot.
Let me think.
Robert De Niro, hot. Pacino, hot. They're hot in their day.
I guess so.
Daniel Day-Lewis, hot.
I guess so.
Thomas Hardy, hot. Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you got to go to like your great character actors, I guess. But yeah, they let him be a lead.
But that's what I'm saying. Philip Seymour Hoffman is so good, even though he was physically looked like a character actor. He was such a good actor. He broke out of his physical limitations, which would just be like, you know, the fucking pedophile in the fourth lead in a movie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a testament to how great he is, you know?
He's the greatest. I mean, he really is the fucking best. And I miss him and I love him. All right.
Very good movie. Let's
transition to one of the great films of all time, the American masterpiece, Sidney Lumet's debut, which I had this point. You can jerk off so hard to Devil Knows You're Dead and then 12 Angry Men, 0 women.
I actually found the opening pretty hot.
The kid?
You did jerk off to the opening when he's in the courthouse?
The close-up of the kid looking sad. This movie, 12 Angry Men, you're probably going to criticize it for some reason because you're a fucking douche and it's just going to make me angry. But this movie is absolutely tremendous.
Shit you're feeling. Like if you think that, and there's obviously feelings you have inside, right?
No, because you alluded to this is going to get contentious, and you're just the kind of guy that watches this movie that is so incredible. And there's one scene that is annoying and stupid, I think, but it doesn't let me ruin it because it's so good. I mean, this movie is as close to perfect as a movie can be, if you ask me.
That's insane. That's insane. But I mean, I'm not going to be a total cunt. I think the movie is obviously, look, it's a lot like Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. It's brilliantly filmed. The acting is incredible. I mean, every actor, like, it's really the glory days, just 12 straight white men who are just so talented. And, but they all perfectly capture like their personalities so well, you know, but
it's brilliantly written.
I mean, the script itself is one of those it's kind of like an old play back in the day where it's all about like ideas, you know, and then the main character just stands for idealism, you know, blow me. I don't know. I can't.
But can't you just let go that it's from 1957, first of all? It's a play from the 50s.
Yeah, so is Sunset Boulevard. That's a masterpiece. I don't know. How am we supposed to judge this? I'm just telling you how I feel. It's, to me, a movie where like the movie clearly has one guy who's right about everything the entire time. That is not, to me, you're saying it's a perfect movie. A perfect movie to me, the height of drama is election. You see different points of views and they're all kind of valid and crazy in their own right. This movie is clearly just one guy who's just a saint, just trying to basically convince everyone. So that's
is he a saint though? You're seeing him as a saint because it's Henry Fonda. Is he a saint or is he just right? He has some good points and he's just asking. He has some good points.
He stands for like everything that's supposed to be great in America.
There's nobody like that. Nobody on the planet is like that in a situation with an argument. He's making good points. He sees it the right way.
I feel like in real life that guy would probably be a little annoying, and you'd be like, he's
right.
He
is annoyed. They're all annoyed. Every single person's annoyed by him.
We should be annoyed by him. We're not annoyed by him. He's a saint. He's clearly a saint. It's fucking Tim Robbins and Shawshank. It's just a saint who stands for idealism, which is great because we don't really have.
Some people are saint-like. You ever meet Colin Quinn? You ever talk to Colin Quinn? He's a goddamn saint.
Well, I just think like it takes a little of the drama away when there's just someone who's right the whole time. I think life is a little messier than that. That's all. It's just a movie about ideas. And And yes, it's plotted great, and there's great like tension, but overall the message of the movie, that kind of drama, I'm not crazy about that kind of drama, which is one guy who's right, and then he's right the whole time. You're just always on his side.
You're letting your own flaws, the way you see yourself, the way that you can't get through a conversation without pausing and needing to jerk off is affecting your way you watch this movie. Because you're like, well, Henry Fonda, I bet he doesn't jerk off in the middle of a conversation. If he sees a woman's toes, he probably doesn't run home and jerk off.
Don't learn anything from this movie. We're just on his side.
What do you mean? Of course we learn from this movie.
At a certain point, at the first 20 minutes, what's up, and then it just keeps on going in that, which is him just trying to.
You learn about groupthink and debate, and this is like one of the great trials. This movie's ahead of its time. This is what everybody jerks off to now, is like true crime. I'm going to solve this thing.
I thought we were jerking off to Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
I jerk off to everything, but I don't know. I guess the movie sucks because he's too good of a guy. Whatever. Forget about how beautiful this is. Forget about how compelling it is. All in one room with 12 guys. I get goosebumps in this movie. I laugh at this movie. Every performance is incredible. The character development is insane.
I agree with
all that. A little bit of yourself in every single character.
I don't see it. Well, I agree with. I agree that it's brilliantly acted and brilliantly directed. It's an effective movie, but you're saying perfect, and I'm just telling you. I
said close to perfect.
Well, the thing where it's off is that the fact that it's kind of at its core, like somewhat superficial. That's what I think. I think it's effective and dramatic, but at its core, it's somewhat superficial because you don't learn. Like Henry Fonda is just right the whole time, and it's just yes, by the end you're like racism is bad. And you shouldn't judge people, but you don't learn anything that you didn't already know going in.
Well, keep in mind, though, this is 1957. So it's like, it's not a movie that's made in 2021 where they're like, and here comes the white guy who's mean to all the people and the black guy's number one. It's not a movie that's like saying racism bad in 2021 where it's preaching and pandering. This is in 1957. This is like Jim Crow shit. So it is quite compelling then to have this guy standing up against these xenophobes and racists.
Possibly, but I don't know how I'd experience it. I don't know if I saw it then I'd be like this preachy still, but like I can only judge it from right now.
I guess you can. You can judge it from right now, but you can't imagine what it's like to be in the 50s. You can't imagine watching. You can't imagine watching people watching this and going, "Wow, that is a compelling case against these things."
I'd like to think even then I'd be like, it's a little preachy.
I guess so. Maybe you would. Maybe you would.
Though. I mean, maybe that was like, whoa, like maybe racism being bad in a movie back then, it was like so shocking that you would be like, wow, this is crazy. But then my argument is that it's dated on that level, It's and also not every movie from that period is dated, so that's where my gauge is,
What are some movies from 1957 that don't feel as dated? I mean, the 50s is still. I mean, you have some great movies then, obviously. The 40s had better movies, and you have On the Waterfront a few years earlier and stuff like that. But a lot of the movies in the 50s are like Elvis Goes to Hawaii and shit like that. I mean, there's a lot of like Technicolor horse shit at that time too.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, of course there's awful movies, but I don't know. I guess Billy Wilder movies that have a lot of nuance. I don't know.
So what would have been better if Henry Fonda was like, if Henry Fonda was like, hey, listen, I can't stand blacks, but this kid seems, I mean, would it be better if he threw in a few of those?
It's better to me when you see different personalities with different viewpoints, and there is.
You don't get that in this movie,
and there is no right viewpoint that's morally absolutely 100% right. But you're seeing different people with different viewpoints fighting out. That's reality to me. The idea of one person just being absolutely right is lessens complexity to me.
Yeah, I suppose so.
It's kind of like Aaron Sorkin, except it's not annoying. It's like non-annoying Aaron Sorkin.
I guess that's what Aaron Sorkin is to me.
I guarantee you it's his favorite movie. I guarantee you.
I'm sure it is, and he tries to recreate it, but he doesn't recreate it well because he's not a good writer. Whereas this writing is great.
Yes, the writing is great, and there's great flips and twists and somersaults and the switchblade and all that shit, and it's hot and sweaty, and I love like some of the characters are amazing. You know what I mean? Especially the baseball ticket guy. What's his name?
Jack Warner. Jack Warden.
Jack Warren. I love him. I mean, Lee J. Cobb is the best,
He's incredible. Martin Balsam is incredible. E.J. Marshall is the best character in the movie. E.G. Marshall, I mean. He is fucking fantastic.
E.G. Marshall?
He's, I think, number 4. He's the business guy that Lee J. Cobb keeps letting do his fighting, which is one of the great pieces of writing ever. Is Lee J. Cobb knows he is not smart enough to argue with this guy. That's a beautiful detail of this movie, is that he is aware he's on this side because of his son, and he's all fucked up. I mean, he's such a great character, but he keeps standing, and there's all these great 2 shots of him next to E.G. Marshall going, tell him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And that is a beautiful thing that stands up to this day where people go, right? You tell him. And E.G. Marshall is not a good guy or a bad guy. He is like a regular guy.
He is someone who's all no emotion, all facts.
It's amazing. Do you ever sweat? No, I don't. And he just sits there.
I love it. And Lee J. Cobb truly is that really difficult person in everyone's life that's just so annoying. The guy who's just all like emotion, you know, and then you can't have an argument with him because he just starts shouting.
Exactly. And he doesn't know how to argue. So he lets this other guy argue for him. And that's why that moment, there's so many great moments where they change their vote. And that's the thing, is it's just a fun, classic movie. I see what you mean. It's a play. It's from the 50s. It doesn't hold up great.
I'll tell you, it's fun. Yeah,
it is so fun and so compelling to pull this off in one room with just 12 people talking. There's 3 minutes outside of this room, and yet it's a thriller. It is a thriller that takes place in a room because of all these great choices that Sidney Lumet makes, all these great camera movements, the way it will, these long shots, and just following one character.
He knows how to make a room expand, and he knows how to like use. He's the master of the interior. He knows how to use space in a room really incredibly. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, like, I guess to me, it's the content that I'm not as crazy about. But I like everything else outside of that. I'll be honest, like, you're gonna shit on me for this, but whatever. This is how I feel a little. I love Lee J. Cobb. I find his psychology, I mean, besides the fact that it's like, you know, whatever, it's obviously obvious, but like, that's fine, because I do get it was 1957. But I don't fully buy that someone who has that many issues with his son, that would transfer to wanting that other kid to be executed. I see the anger, but that seems like a little much, like having so much, I know it's not fully conscious, but having that much anger to your son that you want to see someone else executed when you're transferring symbolically, he represents your son.
But I think
like I don't know if I find that fully believable, that in that relationship that you'd want the person who ultimately represents your son to be executed.
I guess it's not that he represents his son, because he's removed. First of all, he's a brown kid and his son is a white kid. So there's some prejudice there too.
Who is he, by the way? That's the other thing with the race in this movie, which I mean, that's not a critique of the movie, but like, it seems they wanted to say black, but they couldn't.
I think he's Latino. I mean, they show the kid.
I don't even think I think he might be just Italian. I think back then, like, all you could talk about is racism towards Italians.
I don't know. I think he's Latino. He's got a switchblade. He looks brownish. I don't know. It's a black and white movie, so it's
Italians have the switchblades.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. He looks brownish to me.
They say that one guy's from the ghetto, and that guy's like fucking Giuseppe.
Jack Klugman.
So I thought maybe it was an Italian thing. I don't know if you.
It doesn't matter. Can I get to the fucking point, for God's sakes? Who cares what the fucking race he is?
Well, I mean, you know.
That's very racial of you. Now I can't remember the fucking point was. Oh, he doesn't represent his son. I mean, he represents him to some degree, but I don't think he's like execute him. He's like, fuck these kids. He's not thinking about the execution. He's just thinking he's guilty. Punish him. That's all he's thinking. He's not like he's like secretly wants to murder his son. That's what I feel like you're equating it to. He doesn't want to kill his son. He's just like, these kids don't fucking respect anything these days. Fuck him. And he did it. He doesn't think execute him for disobeying him like the way his son does. His son disrespects him. Yeah. This kid, he believes, murdered his father. And he sees his son as possibly murdering him, but he didn't murder him.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's why I say I'm not 100% sure that I believe what I just said. Like, it's just a thought I had that, like, and I get what you're saying, and it makes sense. There's just a part of me on some level that's like, I get that, but like, if you're mad at your son, but really there's still love there, right?
Yeah.
If you're mad at your son and it's being transferred into this other kid, it still seems weird that you'd be like, he deserves to fry. That part seems like, I get the jail maybe, but like, the he deserves to fry seems like a lot. I I don't know, but I could be wrong. I can't fully even articulate what I'm saying. Do you understand? I don't know.
I understand what you mean. I think it's a stretch. It's not a compelling
but that being
argument.
said, I love Lee J. Cobb. He's the best.
He's fucking awesome.
Everyone has one uncle who's like that, who just like fucking like just starts arguing loud. You can't have a conversation with them because they argue loudly. And
he's an influence on a character in our movie. I'm like, that's the character.
DePaulo? Oh no.
Yes.
Oh.
But also, I'm going back to this EG. Oh, what?
I'm just saying it's really funny. We're fighting, and it's like there's no air in my room, and I'm sweating. We're really feels like I'm in 12 Angry Men right now.
Yeah, and I'm E.G. Marshall. Who, going back to that character, that's why it is such a wonderful moment when he flips. He's the most important flip.
Yes,
because he is so calculated and smart, and he keeps coming up with these arguments. And that moment where he does, I watched the other day. I've seen this movie 40 times. I got goosebumps and a little teary-eyed when he goes, "No, I now I have a doubt." It's great. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
And the slowly convincing everybody is beautiful. And of course, you know what's going to happen when it's 11 against 1, and then they start to sway. It doesn't take long to know, like, oh, I see what's going to happen. I understand what this movie is.
It's a fun. I mean, it is a lot like Aaron Sorkin. It's like Aaron Sorkin's best work, where it is fun and there's twists, but it is still full of moments where one character goes, "I gotcha." You know what I mean? There's like 12. You know, oh really? Did you kill me? Did you mean it? You know, there's a lot of scenes where the one guy just blows away the other people in the room, which is a little, you know, it's a little, do you like them apples moments, you know?
It is, but I guess I'm factoring in this gloriousness of this movie being fucking 70 years old and still thrilling, still compelling. Yes, I could show my niece and nephew and they would love it. And how many movies are there really from 1957 that are fucking like, wow, that is thrilling and compelling? And you can name a couple, I'm sure. 5, 6, 4. I mean, not many.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, I want this to be understood. I have mixed feelings here. You know what I mean?
I get it.
This movie's a piece of shit. It's brilliantly acted. And yes, for a movie from 1957 to be that entertaining is a miracle on its own right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's true. Yes, I agree with all that. I can watch it. I'm very entertained, but I just got to be a cunt and just say when it gets to the content, it's a little Aaron Sorkin-y. And that keeps me, I'm only saying that because it keeps me from, it's like a movie that's, to me, both like entertaining and shallow, ultimately.
But what keeps this from being Aaron Sorkin-y to me is that the writing is so good in all those non-gotcha moments about the ball game. Martin Balsam talking about how he's a football coach, talking to Henry Fonda while the rain is coming down, is beautiful. It is so great. And that's where Aaron Sorkin gets it wrong, because Aaron Sorkin would be like, I'm a football coach. You got to tackle life. Well, I tackle life every day. And this was just like, we had this practice. It was great. The kids were really going for it. All that talk.
Sidney Lumet realism.
That, hey, Baltimore, and that's a stupid thing. All those conversations, all that dialogue feels so real. They feel really real, each character. And what's amazing, too, is it's a courtroom drama thriller, but it has a quality of like Dazed and Confused. I want to hang out with these guys. I like all the characters, even the xenophobic fucking asshole guys. You kind of just like listening to them. To see if the cat licks it up, that guy, the salesman guy, they're all compelling and interesting and fun. I have fun.
It's a fun jury room. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of fun to be in a jury arguing. You know what I mean? I know they act like they're annoyed, like, let's get out of here. But it's obviously like, at the end of that, they would be like, this is really entertaining. Like, this is way more entertaining than the last time I was on the jury, where we just like gave out a parking ticket. You know what I mean? It's obviously very entertaining, like in a fun place to be in. But yeah, I think there's a realism to it that separates it from Aaron Sorkin. I think it's Aaron Sorkin deep down, but not on the surface, which is where like the most annoying parts of Aaron Sorkin exist.
I think Aaron Sorkin thinks he's writing these. He wants to and thinks he
definitely
is, but he's not.
Yeah.
But going back to Sidney Lumet, who's the topic, is, again, the direction in this is amazing. Yes. These long shots that must have been so hard to pull off. And he does this great thing where he's following one character to a point, and then he picks up this other character and comes back around and follows him through. And then as it keeps getting tighter and tighter, and then I read this thing about, or watched the thing a long time ago, they started using longer lenses. So the wall started closing in and in. Yeah. He also did a thing that's really interesting that is so subtle that you barely notice, but it starts off the eye level, the camera's shooting from up above, and then towards the middle it gets level, and then it goes from underneath towards the end to really build that drama.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the man is he knows how to build suspense through. I mean, his camera work's amazing, and it's very intentional at every moment, and he knows how to he knows how to create a sense of claustrophobia, and yeah, it is. I mean, it is wildly impressive how entertaining everything in one room can just be, you know?
And this is his first movie, which is just incredible. Here's a question that has nothing to do with the movie, but what was the paper towel system back then? When you pull it and it's all one thing, it doesn't rip away. How did that work?
Right, because what does he do? He pull it. It seems like it's just one, and then you just dry your hand, but you don't rip it.
At one roll, and it just keeps going around. By the way, that bathroom scene is also just tremendous, where it's on him. He goes. It's the only one where Henry Fonda's in the bathroom, and it's on him, and he gets closer, and he comes to the towels, and he goes back to the sink, and then the character he's talking to leaves, and then you pick up a new character comes in. And it follows them, and it's all this one long thing.
It's Jack Warden at the end.
Yes, and he says, supposing he did kill his father, and we let him go, which is a moment. It's a great moment.
The other great thing about this movie is all the actors have a very strong personality, and then you watch their little behaviors show their personality, like the way Jack Warden acts the whole time, him just fucking around, like his movements. You get to see everyone's mannerisms be the perfect reflection of what they're all about, you know? Jack Warden's the best though. Like he is just fucking and of course when he just votes, that's a great character reveal.
Amazing.
When he votes the other way.
And he goes, because I don't have to. Yes, you do have to. And he's like,
he gets what kind of man?
He's like Henry Hill. He's like, the way you tell the story. What? I mean, it feels very similar to that. And he's like, no, tell me. You need to tell me. It's a very similar moment as that Henry Hill, Tommy D scene.
It's kind of an interesting movie too, because it's very dramatic, but at the same time, it has nothing to do with anyone's, except for Lee J. Cobb, I guess. No one's actual internal life has much to do with it's all just this one thing they're doing that day. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting. It doesn't I mean, I guess Lee J. Cobb, about his dramatic stuff, but for everyone else, it's just purely an idea thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, don't you think it must be the greatest debate ever depicted in a movie? I mean, is there a better depiction of a debate, a full debate?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I can't even think of it. What are the other debate movies? I mean, I guess any courtroom thing. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's probably the best. Yeah, yes. And debate movies are probably not my cup of tea ultimately, but yes, in terms of debate movies, it's the best. I can't even really think of anything else, but it's very much. I mean, I think it happens a lot in theater. You know.
Yeah, I guess so.
Ideas, you know.
It also just zips through. All of a sudden, you're like, boom, here we are. End of the movie. It's great. It's a great movie, and he's a great director. And there's so many more great ones. I mean, he also directed Network.
Yes.
Dog Day Afternoon, Serpico, The Verdict.
I've never seen The Verdict. Is that good?
Yeah, I'm rewatching it right now. And then this other movie, Anderson Tapes, which isn't great, but it's fun. And
he also did a movie with Vin Diesel.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. And Pete Dinklage.
No kidding. Yeah, I'm going on a deep dive right now. He's really something else.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Movies back then, you had a character who stood for idealism. You have him, Henry Fonda, in a lot of movies, Gregory Peck and To Kill a Mockingbird, you know?
High Noon.
You have characters who are very moral. You don't really have that anymore.
I think it probably some of the big action, right? I mean, I assume some of these comic book guys are fucking whatever.
I guess so. But in most movies, there's morality isn't as important. I don't know. Maybe we're just more nihilistic now. But you don't see those you don't. I mean, I guess Tom Hanks is our only. I guess Tom Hanks is the one Jimmy Stewart, Gregory Peck, Henry Fonda guy we have now.
Yeah, I mean that speaks to what I was saying earlier. I mean, you factor in the time period. That is what movies were. Henry Fonda, you had a big good guy that came in.
You had the guy who was
things.
Represented the good things about America, and it was kind of patriotic. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess I'm a cunt and can't fully get into that, but I do. Obviously, I'm. The movie is amazing on so many levels. I'm not trying to be a dick here. You know.
I'm not saying you're being a dick.
Okay. I just it's just at the end of the day, for me, it's a good movie, but for me, it's the movies where there is no real right or wrong. You're just seeing two different people's viewpoints, and you can kind of see a little where they're both coming from. but there is no moral absolutes. That's the movie that really I dig the most because it's the closest to reality, you know? Because I really don't think in life there is, for the most part, a lot of moral absolutes, you know? I mean,
here's what I'll say about these movies. Watching both these movies, they both did what I want movies to do and what movies should be. They took me out of life and put me in those movies. I'm not checking my phone. I'm not thinking about my set. Yes. I am in that world. And that is great filmmaking. That's what great films are. And Dog Day Afternoon does it the most. That's his masterpiece. And in one of my favorite movies of all time. And Network is like that too. It's great.
It's also like, I guess Dog Day Afternoon is just fucking hilarious. Like that's the thing. These two,
it's incredible.
Like Dog Day Afternoon is so funny.
It is so funny and so compelling. It's just the best. I mean, I could do 3 hours on Dog Day Afternoon. I mean, it's my favorite performance. It's my favorite directing. It's incredible.
It's Before the Devil Knows You're Dead is kind of like the tragic. Like Dog Day Afternoon is like a tragic comedy. And The Devil Knows You're Dead is just a tragic version of that because it's very similar. He's like wanting an escape from his life, you know, that he's just not going to get.
Right.
But you know what I mean? And but it's just a much funnier version of that, you know. But it is interesting to look at what do you think if you you know how every director has like a theme? What is the Sidney Lumet style exactly? It's like the theme. Is it just kind of desperate people?
It's all desperation. It feels like, I mean, tragic people that have led lives into the dark places and they're trying to get out. And a lot of them are trying to do the right thing. It feels like in a lot of these things, or what they perceive to be the right thing.
Yes. And it's I guess it's a take on 12 Angry Men's a little different because that's like a play. So it has its own, it feels like it's not as much. His other movies seem much more connected, I think, you know. They're also all set in New York, right?
Pretty much, yeah. These are all New York movies.
But yeah, there is that sense of like desperation and trying to get out of your shitty life and not being being able to. Real quickly, at the beginning of the Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, are they having sex in Rio?
Yeah, I wonder that too. Are they reminiscing Rio? Maybe they are in Rio.
It just didn't feel like Rio, but I don't know what I guess it's just the inside of a room though. It just seemed like
it didn't feel like a Rio depiction of
Rio. It didn't seem like it didn't seem like that's great. It didn't seem like fancy, you know?
Yeah. Rio might not be fancy. It's like Brazil.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But yeah, I'm glad we did this. These were fun, man.
These are great ones. Great episode. I think that was good stuff, and I love it. The guy just knows how to tell a story. I mean, like, these movies wouldn't have been as good in the hands of a different director.
That's also a big Sidney Lumet thing, kind of like Mamet. He's very like Mamet in the sense that it's like every scene has to propel the story forward.
David Mamet wrote The Verdict, so there you go.
Right? Yeah. And they both have "ets" at the end of their name.
Ah.
But yeah, every scene propels the story forward, and like Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, you're like fucking gripped, you know, right away, you know.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, this was a great episode. I love this episode.
Fun. Yeah, this is really fun. I hope you don't hate me. I'm very insecure these days.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad thing to be. All right, well, I got subscribed to YouTube. I'm shooting my special December 7th, Village Underground. It's going to be great. 2 shows, 8 and 10. Some of you come to the 10 o'clock show, so it mix it up a little bit.
I'll come to the 10.
Great. Well, we'll go to the diner after, get milkshakes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm excited.
You know what sucks is Louis not in town. Usually he pays for all the milkshakes after.
Fuck. He's not gonna be in town then? Oh, he's on the road.
He's on the road. I'm with him right before. Anyways, those dates, December 7th, day that will live in infamy, my special. And subscribe to both our YouTube pages. Everything's YouTube now. So you got to go to our YouTube pages and subscribe. For God's sakes, for the love of God, please.
Yeah, please subscribe to my YouTube page. I have my first album. I finally almost done editing all the footage together. So I'm going to post it out as like a special.
Nice.
Right? Yeah. So I'm going to have that. And then I'm working on getting a date for my next special, which I'm going to film hopefully in the next couple of months. I might be doing a Caveat. What do you think about Caveat?
What the hell's Caveat?
Oh boy. It's like a little theater room in New York City.
No, I don't know it, but it sounds great.
Should I just wait for a day for VU? We can talk about it.
I don't know. Yeah, let's talk about it another time. All right.
Oh, and no, I'm headlining Soul Joel's October 16th.
Oh,
that's
nice.
Saturday. Fucking, there's probably, come to that.
Yeah, come for sure. Go get your tickets. Great venue. It's gonna be awesome.
All right.
All right.
Action.
Cut.